All right. Hey guys, welcome back. All right, so actually we'll use this deck and this deck. So we're going to go ahead and jump on into today's topic video. This is going to be for the 13th of April. All right, let's go ahead and see where this one begins. I feel kind of like I should have used that other deck first, but I committed to this one, so let's begin where we begin. We have Judgment in the reverse, Scorpio energy. We have the Star sideways, and we have the Magician sideways. So Scorpio, Aquarius, and then we've got Virgo, Gemini. Here's the thing. Obviously, we've got a lot of like mixed up energy. We've got a lot of, I'll say, rejections of like somebody wants to shake off the ghosts. You know, they don't want to have to bring back the past. They don't want to talk about the past. The past maybe is something that they think like I feel like that was a failure. I feel like when I think about the past, I think that I don't know why I couldn't manifest something properly. I thought it was my wish come true, but maybe my wishes weren't the greatest wishes at that point because maybe I needed to clean up something in my life. You notice how she's standing in the shower on this star card. You notice how the Magician is like, we barely see a genuine outline of a person. It's not fully formed. It's almost like someone is saying, maybe the reason something didn't work out for me in the past is because I was scattered. It's like somebody wants so badly to take full responsibility for something that didn't work out in their life, and say, I don't want to reinvest in something. I don't want to entertain the past. I don't even want to remember kind of what happened because maybe I'm a little bit embarrassed that I feel like I was, I had some tarnished dreams because maybe I was in a tarnished headspace. Maybe I didn't ask for the best thing for myself because maybe I didn't know myself well enough to ask for the right thing. And that's kind of a memory that I just want to distance myself from. That's what I look at with that right now. Somebody is like, I don't want to say they're running from the past. I think that they just don't want to revisit something that there's a time to put old stuff in the old stuff wastebasket. We got a 6 of Cups in the reverse. This is somebody who wants to let go of a past relationship, a past person. They really want to let this go. They want to say, I learned the lesson with a soulmate as best I could. There isn't anything else. 4 of Pentacles. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that if their mind goes down that road at all they remember is how somebody held back from them. Maybe okay, so remember that these are fictional stories. Please know I'm not talking to you, no matter who you are as an audience member. I'm not passing judgment on you. I wouldn't do that if I did know you in real life. But I have to tell the story that we see on the cards. We see like a divine feminine here who's like a big bridezilla who's dangling this little guy over by the bank. If this story is about someone who's saying, I don't even want to think back to a relationship that I had once upon a time with someone that I viewed as a soulmate, because when I think back to it, all I remember is that I ended up feeling like that was my role, like I was demanding that somebody needed to do this or do that for me, or the memory that I have is. And keep in mind, this may not have been at all who our lead character was. They may never have been demanding, but when somebody gives so little and we keep saying, okay, I need to express what it is that I want, at some point it can almost not feel empowering, but it feels like, great, now I feel like I loathe the way I am being. I loathe the fact that I feel like I'm saying, I want this and you need to do this and blah, blah, blah. And now I feel like if someone heard me say these things, they'd be like, oh, wow, aren't you just a bossy jerk? It's like, I don't want to revisit any of that energy that made me feel that way. I want to push that away. That is not who I wanted to be seen as. It's not how I want to view myself. And I think that this was a really complicated situation. I don't know that I think that that's who this character really was. I'm just thinking that they feel like a slightly like not even ashamed or embarrassed, but more like, I don't know how I ended up, like having to say some of the things that I had to say, and then on the flip side, what it makes me think of myself as is somebody that was like trying to force somebody into, like, you better love me, you better do this, you better do that. And that's not who I am. But I don't know how it got so messed up. That's I hope I'm explaining this, because I can see it, but I'm not sure that I'm explaining that very well. I think that that's why somebody goes, I never want to be put through a situation that it's constructed in such a way that maybe this person was being really gaslit. We've got a two of swords. It's like, no, I'm cutting that away. I never want to deal with that again. I am, this is like a decision, and maybe their hindsight is 2020, and they're saying, what I should have done is, if I were in a situation where I was being forced into having to like advocate for myself, but then maybe being gaslit and being told that I was demanding or, impossible, or I was some big bridezilla, um, trying to force my will upon others, I should have cut that out right away. I shouldn't have to resort to it, like having to advocate for myself or stand up for myself to the point where this is what somebody can flip the script and say, this is how I behaved, or that I have to flip the script and think of myself in that light. I should have walked away from that before I started to feel that way about my own self. I hope that that makes sense. I think that that's the best description I can give of that until we see something else. Ace of Swords, yeah, it keeps looking like, no, I've cut this away and I see the truth. What is the other truth that our character sees here? What is the truth? Queen of Swords. All I wanted was to actually have boundaries in place. But here's the thing, here's the kicker. Our lead character has realized that the truth is I needed to have boundaries before I ended up in a situation that things had gone too far the opposite direction. So for me to try to like turn that battleship around, now it looks like I'm this demanding, this and that, and forcing my will, and because really if I had had the boundaries up in the beginning, I wouldn't have ever let somebody trespass on me to the point where I didn't know where we stood, and I was trying to like force somebody to tell me what's going on and all of those things. They hold back the more I approach and, like move toward them, and then they're like, "Whoa, you're a bit much," or something. And she's saying to herself, "I'll never go through that again." What I learned is if I had had a boundary up in the first place with someone that wasn't showing me the reality of what it was. If I have a question in my mind about what somebody's up to, I can just cut them loose. I always held the power to cut something loose, but instead I think that this character tried to understand a situation, tried to like find a way to advocate for themselves and advance, a conversation or something, when it was like it had gone too far, their boundaries had been crossed too far to begin with, and so then they were, there's no way to win your lost ground then, because somebody's already trespassed, got too much from you, and then if you try to take anything back that would be rightfully yours, or even hold somebody accountable, it's too late. Again with the Knight of Swords, yeah, I really think that a situation got out of control before they even realized it, before they were ready to cut something out. Someone really advanced on them. I mean, this could be an example of somebody who rushed in, love bombed them, and then it was all talk, no action. They believed it for a while. Now it's super confusing because wait a second, I've given so much. They didn't actually give me anything. All they gave me was the illusion with those words. I listened to the words when I should have actually cut them out of my life right away. Anybody who wants to push something that fast immediately, that should have been my red flag. I really feel like this is a character who is like, they kind of got into this element where they kind of loathed themselves because of how they ended up feeling about themselves in a situation. But they're really, what I like about this character is that they're identifying kind of like how things got out of control. And masculine or feminine doesn't matter, but they are now very clear on what happened because they've got the ability to look back to it, and they're like, I don't really want to have to relive any of this, but I do want to take away the lesson. I understand now how my boundaries were not in place when they should have been, and it was because I think something happened just way too fast. It was and maybe this that we see this character in a top hat with a little fancy mustache, and that's kind of like the classic look of a villain in an old cartoon. So I'm inclined to say somebody, they knew what they were doing. They were very skilled. They came in, they love bombed, they pushed something really fast. They got somebody to be like, oh my gosh, I'm dazzled. They, oh, look at this page of coins, and they're signing with the devil over here. And we have a 5 of swords. Yeah, I really think that they were self-loathing. This person is punching the mirror that they're looking at. I think that this is one of those situations where, without even knowing it, they got involved with somebody who, I don't know. I don't know if the person that they were involved with was the one who had signed some contract already with the. I can't help but say signed it with the devil, because that's what we got back there, right? They're kind of looking over their shoulder like, "Ooh, I told you a good line to get you to agree to, like, kind of let me manipulate you." Um, but I feel like there was some kind of devil contract on both sides. So our Queen of Swords had her boundaries crossed really fast. That was a tactic somebody used. It's like if you can get somebody to buy something really fast the first time you, like that's a sales tactic that you hear about a lot. Like, if you dazzle somebody the first time and like insist how good it is, then they'll be, if you can get them to buy it before they walk away from you, like that's, that's like the best sales tactic or something. I don't know. I don't know about this stuff. I'm not a salesperson, but there's all kinds of like, hype around that kind of stuff. And I feel like they wanted to get somebody to basically, and when I say sign a contract, maybe they love bombed in order to get this Queen of Swords to say, I love you, like really soon. And they're like, got it. I got them to sign my devil contract, a sign on the dotted line. I'm not sure exactly what their motive was for doing that, other than maybe this is how they make themselves feel better. It's like if I can get somebody to tell me that they love me, then it makes me feel better about my own self-loathing. But unfortunately, the other side of that contract is they perhaps have an unhealthy thing that they've attached themselves to, and in turn she also wound up loathing her own self. Like, this was a really big mess is what we're describing, okay? And there's no reason for life to have to be this unpleasant, right? This is just it you know what I really think the big message is in this? Well, no, I'll be quiet. I shouldn't say what I think it is. Let's let the cards do the talking. What's the big message here? Okay, I can say it. Love one's self. That's it. Everything in life, like we got to really check in with ourselves and say, do I love me enough to say, I don't, if somebody comes in and tries to love bomb me, I don't have to say, oh my God, finally somebody loves me enough and they're saying all this, so I'm going to believe it, hook, line, and sinker. Wait a minute. If they really love me, um, there's no rush to get to that point. We can take it slower. And if I love myself enough, I can say, hey, that's great that they say all this to me, but I have to establish whether or not I love them in return. I don't have to instantly, reciprocate just because I feel pressured to, like I say, sign on the dotted line. I feel like the big lesson in all of this was, in some way, perhaps both these characters needed to love themselves a little bit more before they could have a healthy kind of love. Maybe both of them were looking for a way to feel valuable, and that kind of became a little bit toxic. I don't want to paint just one person as this person as like, oh, they were the villain entirely, right? They may have tried to move things in really fast. They could be a Libra, Gemini, Aquarius, does not have to be, but we do have an awful lot of swords here. But they talked a bigger game than what they could offer. And it was maybe because they wanted so badly to feel important. That's not really a villain is someone who tries to hurt another person's feelings, right? Out of the fact that that's what they do. This person was trying to make themselves feel better about themselves because they have a lot of self-loathing. That's not the same as a villain. Maybe their actions were the actions of a villain, but their motive in this case doesn't look like they were intending to hurt another person. It almost seems like they had some unhealthy contract with their own lack of self-worth, because this message applies to both of them. And that's the reason I want to make sure that I don't say that, oh, one person was terrible, she was their victim. I think this message is saying they both needed to love themselves more. Remember, it starts out with her saying, I don't want to deal with the past again, because that was a really confusing time for me. What I wished for maybe wasn't the healthiest of wishes. Maybe I should have cleaned myself up a little bit first. I should have gotten a little more clear on what I really wanted, meaning maybe she should have loved herself a little bit more, um, so that she had better boundaries up in the first place. Let's talk a little bit about them. I do think that we should talk a little bit about them right now, because I'm trying really hard to be super objective, like let both of these characters have their space to explain who they are. Seven of Cups, Knight of Pentacles. They were on their own personal journey of confusion. I mean, Seven of Cups is confusion, and this is slowly grappling their way through life and trying to figure themselves out. I don't think that either one of these characters had a really perfect grasp of their own worth. That's all. And so what happens is maybe both people were desperate to like fall crazy in love and have somebody crazy in love with them. But it- there's it's weird to see the scissors twice. Um, we saw scissors in two different, on her side and on their side. And I just think that this is really talking about the things that need to be, there's a lot of crap that needs to be cut through. There's a lot of dead weight that needs to be cut off. There's a lot of things that need to be trimmed. There's a lot of things that aren't completely true, which could be like, the story that they tell themselves about how they're not that worthy. That could be a bunch of crap that needs to be cut through. And maybe they both had some of that going on. And so they meet each other, and they're both, maybe they both kind of jumped the gun. They both really wanted something to be something that they weren't really ready for. They wanted the other person to show them how much they were loved. So they were very ready to sign a contract too soon. Make big promises, say how much I love you, I love you, I love you. And maybe it was like they maybe needed to first be able to say, I love me. And maybe that's words they never were able to say to themselves yet. Let me see a little bit more about them, because the Sun, yeah, they really wanted to be happy. They really wanted to be happy. What was their motive in rushing things with her then? Page of Cups to the Judgment. I think they could have been on a rebound with this. They could have been trying to have new love, to revive some emotion in themselves, to feel good about themselves again, to find happiness again. So they might have been, they convinced themselves that they were crazy in love immediately. Why on her side do we have her saying, they held back so much? They like revved me up, told me all this stuff. I thought we were going to get married even. And then it was like they did nothing but hold back. And then I was in this weird position of like trying to demand and force, and, what are you doing? What's going on here? Yeah, they kind of all of a sudden just dropped energy. They kind of just suddenly stopped. All that love, 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 and then bam, nothing. Not even a page's amount of energy. The passion is gone. They're not attempting to move this forward. They're not attempting to like you see her even, maybe. That does sound pretty much like a villain to me though. Ace of Wands. And that's after she was like, lit like a fire. Like, of course, I'm super passionate about them because they told me all this stuff. They said all this was going to happen. And then they go ice cold the second they get me lit. That's super confusing. Why'd they do that? Let's let them talk. Why'd you do that? 10 of Pentacles, 6 of Swords. Hold on. I don't know. What I'm about to say, I don't want to say unless there's another card that says it. Nine of Wands in the reverse and the Death card upright. It's one of two things. Either they all of a sudden dropped everything and pulled back because they thought that there was suddenly going to be a chance to transform some relationship of the past. And so they bounced back to some other relationship, in which case I would have a hard time not calling them a villain. But the other thing could be they all of a sudden just said, you know what? I think I just want to like not do relationships at all. I don't want to fight for relationships. I really just want to just focus on, building money. I don't, all of a sudden they just like freaked out and said, I don't want relationships at all. I just want to focus on money. I give up on relationships. And that could have been also, which again would just speak of somebody who like the first hint of any confusion or the first hint of, maybe they shouldn't have been trying to find happiness in another person and telling somebody that they love them when they really needed to evaluate themselves. And they all of a sudden were just like, I don't want a relationship. I think focusing on finances is maybe that's the way for me to just be calm. I don't want all the emotions that go along with a relationship. They definitely looked like they were still very scarred up when they came toward her. So I do think that this person in this fictional story, I think that this fictional character, there is a reason that they're in the top hat. There is a reason that they are in the villain's outfit. Some of this that they did, I have to lean towards saying, even though we can understand that somebody desperately wanted to, grasp at a chance to be happy, the fact that they did it knowing all along that it was all about them, that's the thing that I think makes me question their behavior, because this feels very selfish. Not the wanting to be happy part, but the fact that I kind of think that they came in that broken, and I think that they knew it, but they thought that having somebody say that they loved them in return would be enough. And then when it wasn't, it was just like, okay, never mind, just gonna run. Yeah, lovers. This is the terrible part, though. They actually did feel something for this person. They really did. This is so mixed up because they really did feel something for this character, for our Queen of Swords, and they still walked away. Maybe they even thought to themselves, I am no good. I just played a big old mind game on my own self and on them, and I actually do love them, or at least I wanted to have love, but I'm no good to be in love right now. I got to go work on me. But that whole attitude of like, they come in, they get somebody to say that they love them, then they freak out and say, oh, this is too much. I really just want to be calm. I just want to work on money. I'm going to split. But wow, I did actually develop some kind of emotion for this person, but that's why I'm no good for them and I should just go my own separate way. I feel like all of that was just what a mind trip this was. Okay, universe, let's I don't like this story at all. I find this very fatiguing. Please remember, if this is upsetting you, this is fiction. So do not over identify with these characters. This is anytime that something is upsetting you, that is, it's like watching a movie that you don't like or is making you cry, stop. Watch something funny, turn on music, do something that brings the vibe up. Don't relive painful things. I tell whatever story comes out, good, bad, or ugly, just like a writer writes a book, whether there's sad parts to it or not. But I'm always looking for what is the big lesson in something. I never read stories just to be like, oh, well, this is miserable, let's keep going. But if you as an audience member don't like it, please remember you'll hold all the power to please click off. Don't watch stuff that makes you sad. But in this, I want to see, where's the universe taking this? Princess of Staves and the Justice card. I said, universe, let's get some help on this. So absolutely not fair. The things that happened, not fair. However, the only way to make it fair is to be loyal to our own desire. If someone is not providing us with something that we actually want for ourselves, why would we ever accept less? Why would we say, well, this is miserable, I should hold on to it? Oh, they're treating me like crap, I guess this is just all I'm going to get. This says, no, that should fire us up enough to say, that's not okay. I'm going to be loyal to the reality of what I believe I really want for myself. And maybe to say what I deserve is not the right word, but what I want. Because the Princess of Wands, the wand is the passion, the power. This is what I want. If in order to make something right, we can't rely on somebody else to make something right, because everybody comes in their own broken energy. We're all dented tin cans to one extent or another, perhaps. So to imagine that someone has the responsibility even of making sure that they're already healed when they come in, they may not know how broken they were. But the wonderful thing is to turn this around and make something wrong right. All we have to do is put our energy into, but what do I want? Do I want someone who makes me feel like they told me they loved me and then they like just bolt? No, heck no. I want way more than that. I want a partnership, I want passion, I want consistency, I want all that. So that's not what I'm going to tolerate. I'm not taking less than what I want. It's a little bit of, I think this is the way to like prevent that happening again. We already saw that the big message here was to, both characters needed to love themselves a little bit more. So they might have both met in a not great energy. It also says that with the Eight of Sacred Circles, putting our attention on the things in our life that are worthy of our effort. A relationship that somebody is not showing up in is probably not worth our attention. We are worth our attention, though. We are worth building a life that is magnificent. We are worth, and if somebody wants to put energy in and build a life with us, then awesome. Then that's a signifier that maybe they're worthy of us putting our energy into them. But someone who's not present, not working on something, they probably don't deserve our precious energy. How do we work on something that they're not present for? And this is saying working on what really would make us happy. That's the key to getting things to be fair again. Three of Cups, the Moon, and the Three of Swords. Working on relationships that actually have like joy and unity instead of working on the mystery of why did my heart get broken. That's how I'm interpreting all of this. What do we place the greatest energy into? Do we put it on the mystery of the heartbreak, or do we put it on, I really want to work toward having an amazing connection in my life? This definitely looks like the better thing to work on between these two sets of cards, in my opinion. Hi, sweetheart. How you doing? But it's really hard to not get, sorry, my dog is here. It's really hard to not get stuck on the mystery of why did this happen? My love. Come here. You want to come in? You can. Sorry, my doggy is doggo clock. He comes in when he thinks that I should be paying attention to him. Ace of Sacred Circles. We can put this whole mess behind us and start fresh. We don't ever have to relive this again. Our characters don't ever have to go through this stuff again. How are they going to change things? Because it's a whole different ball game at this point. Neither one has to rehash or revisit the old ways of being. And let me first ask, tell me about our divine masculine character, or whoever's wearing the top hat. Okay, I don't read for genders. I shouldn't say divine masculine. It's just that's what we saw on that card. But the person who, they kind of were pretty selfish about, yes, they were hurt. Yes, they were broken. But they also it kind of looks like they were trying to use somebody else, in order to get what they needed, and then realized what they were doing, and split, and then thought, I do care about this person, but I'm no good for anybody right now. I got to go work on me. let me ask, what's their impression of, what they're left with after all of this? The Empress. Yeah. So they know darn well who that Queen of Swords was. That was a real empress that they were dealing with, and they messed with the mind of an empress. Ooh, that's the person that they would have actually really wanted to have success with. So interesting. We saw that they realized that they really did care about her. The Hierophant. Oh my God. They're realizing this is the person that they actually wanted to marry. This would have been the real love that they wanted. They wanted somebody to fall for them. And they got somebody who really would have loved them right, is the crazy part. And they know that now in retrospect, but they split and decided to just go after money because they started to realize how messed up they were. And they really thought that they're not good enough to be with her. So this whole issue was about self-loathing and not really being ready and trying to rebound and use somebody else to get you over a heartbreak. That's the epic mistake that they made. And then them deciding, no, I just don't want any relationship at all. I'll just focus on money. And then realizing, but I do care about them, but now I've messed this up, so I should just stay solo. And now the net result of all of this is, oh my God, that was the person I loved. That was the person, that was the Empress. That was the catch. That's the person I should have married. That's a tangled mess. Let me get one more on this. Because we're saying that's a person that they, see as an empress and that they should have married, that doesn't mean that they're entitled to marry that person. 6 of coins in the reverse, 10 of coins upright. So they got their money and they got nobody to share it with at this point. They're in a place, like a lot of reflection. A lot of things are starting to come clear for them. So give me just one message about, let's go back to that Ace of Sacred Circles, the fact that there can be a new way to behave. Once we get beyond the self-loathing, once we start to make better decisions, once we start to actually have better boundaries up, once we start to see things through a different light, once we realize the mistakes we made and we don't relive them and we don't rehash them anymore because we're making different, better choices because we learned from those past mistakes, as hurtful and painful as they were, how do they each move forward? And here on their side, we've got a Prince of Sacred Circles. How do they move forward? Slowly, one step at a time. They need to make sure that they really have grown. They need to be much wiser. Remember, they came in before as that Knight of Swords. They came racing in and tried to get someone to say that they loved them because they needed somebody to love them. Now they move slow. That's the first step to them doing things differently from here on out. Let's get one more for them, and then we'll take a look at her, that Queen of Swords. Queen of Sacred Circles. They really need to move slow. They really need to invest. They need to give. They need to think consciously, is this someone that I am, wanting to build and grow with? Is this someone I'd want to have a legacy with? Because trying to rush in and just start from like an intense romance without building trust or building anything of substance, maybe that's why the whole thing collapsed. And maybe that's what happened with them. We saw a hint that maybe they were on a rebound. They were still hurt over somebody else. And it's like, if they had still been madly in love with somebody that hurt them and it was a fresh wound, what they wanted to do was feel that kind of passionate love again. So they race in towards someone and they try to like basically leapfrog and say, let me pretend that last person that I was still in love with who broke my heart, let me just transfer that crazy love onto this other new person and forget that that's a totally different person. That's not an extension of my past relationship, and I can't replace the past. I'm supposed to heal from the past and meet a new person and invest in them and get to know them. And that takes time and that takes growth. If that was their lesson, is that this person was, I just feel like they were like this, like traumatized running like wild horse that was just a flurry of like, they did not have a very, they wanted to replace an emotional thing because they were really hurting when they met that Queen of Swords. And I don't know if, I mean, half of them knew what they were doing and half of them didn't, is what this looks like. But this is about how they can move forward and not repeat those mistakes. Slow down, see each individual as an individual, and actually invest. Build something of substance. Take the time to show somebody that, you know, like if they're inclined to race in and try to get somebody, you know, to say that they love them right away, that should be their own red flag, that I've got work to go do on myself. I better not pull that stunt again and hurt somebody. Yeah, they need to slow this way down. And that's their way forward. Okay, what about for her? For her, the Star card. So to really, really ask herself, remember, she's the Queen of Swords who needed better boundaries right in the beginning. She probably needed to ask herself, or needs to from this point forward, what does my true wish fulfillment look like? Because she might have just been dazzled by how intense this person was, how fast everything happened. It was kind of like a, you know, her head was swirling. It was so much to take in all at once. And maybe she was even accepting things that weren't really what she wanted, wasn't really the way she wanted to be treated or handled, but it was just so overwhelming with energy. This is also about her needing to also make sure she's really truly healed, but it's very much about what is her wish fulfillment. Maybe because we suggested that she needed better boundaries, maybe she kind of was accepting all kinds of energy from them that wasn't authentically what she would have wanted to receive from a partner, but she didn't really know how to put a stop to it because she just didn't have those boundaries of a magician. So for her, it's all about reminding herself that she gets to attract into her life what she actually wants. First, identify what do I really want, and then call that in. She never has to be at the mercy of, okay, are they going to choose me? I should accept them just as they are without ever questioning, does this really satisfy me? And now I'm in this disempowered position of waiting and wondering, do they care about me? Will they care about me? No, I should be the manifester. I should be the person who attracts in exactly what it is I want. And I don't say yes to anything that isn't what I authentically want, because I love myself enough not to say yes to the things that I don't want. Okay, so what happens between these two? We start out by her saying, I don't want to ever deal with them again. I don't want to deal with this again. But what happens between these two? Emperor. Let me get one more. Hi, sweetheart. Hi. You need a hug? And the Eight of Swords. You know, I think that... Come here, darling. Come here. You okay? You all right? Sorry, it's dog time. What? Down there making your little Ewok sounds. What happens between the two of them? I just think taking charge of things, and I think that this, I don't know that I think that these two are actually going to interact again. I think that this was a situation where they both just needed to learn some really important things. Yeah, some really important things. And that there is some aspect of what went on that I don't even know if they'll get beyond with that Eight of Swords. And that's not an unpleasant message on that. It's more like some things can't be undone, perhaps, but what came out of this, Queen of Swords, there's a bye-bye. She is letting this go. We already said she doesn't want to relive this. That's what we saw in the very beginning, is that she said, I don't want to deal with this again. I want this lesson to be the last time I got to deal with this lesson. And I feel like if this is stuck energy, it may just be that she's saying, look, even if they are an emperor now, I don't want to be stuck in this. I want to leave this behind. They could also be taking charge of things, taking charge of the stuck energy so that there can be a release of this. You know, sometimes taking charge of things means having the power to let it go, having the power to say, sitting down and having communication about this is not really going to change the fact that this already played out this way. the sun and how it's time to go be happy. It's time to learn the lesson and move on. It's time to let go of certain things that were really tough, really painful lessons. Maybe we don't need to hug it out. Maybe we don't need to find a way. Queen of Wands. It's all about like really choosing to be genuinely happy now. We don't have to relive the mistakes. We learned. Both of these characters learned a ton. Yeah, I do think that this may always be a lesson of there. It's like, damn. And this may be primarily on their side, not the queen's side. It may primarily be on their side she may always be the one that got away. She may be the one who wouldn't entertain this again for anything. And that maybe that's a little stuck energy in and of its own, but I really think only stuck because it's like, even if they are an emperor now, I don't want it, because she's like, I wouldn't be able to forgive it and accept it back in, because I finally got myself beyond it and I don't want to revisit it. There's more than one way to be really happy on this earth. There's more than one amazing person on this planet. And I just think that sometimes, we've already seen, she said, I want it to be done. I don't want to revisit this. I want to just learn the lesson and let it go. And even if they feel the regret, they should. I would argue that, listen, regret's not a bad thing, in my opinion, because it tells somebody that their conscience says, I did bad here. I did wrong on that. I did wrong to that person. And that's something where sometimes those are the lessons that we most needed to learn, is how not to use another person. That is something to feel bad about. That's why we have that emotion, because sometimes there's a reason to feel bad because you did bad. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that shows that they actually, they did change. They did learn something. King of Wands, Two of Wands. I think this is the departure point. I think that they both end up better people. And I think it was a really painful experience, maybe for both of them. But they both end up making a choice to go different directions, but as better people. I know this is not a great story. I know somebody will be upset over this one, but I don't know that I think it's upsetting at all. I think that this is a huge, massive relief, because, it's just looking at I always try to find stories that are, or I hope that what I see in the storylines are like, even the mistakes that humans make, to try to understand the why and then to see what could be learned, because I just don't know that anyone isn't capable of making some epic mistakes, especially when they're wounded and selfish, especially when they're hurt and wounded, and and then is there really no path to redemption? If we can really change, I would say there is path to redemption. It doesn't always mean that there's going to be a redemption for these characters to get back together, but if they become better people, even though it was difficult, then is that not what life is all about? Is hopefully at least becoming better people. Anyway, that's what we got on this one. I'm just going to put a trigger warning on it and go ahead and let it be there anyway. But I hope anybody that hated this story already clicked off a long time ago. And remember, they are fictional. So, all right, take care. Thank you for being here. If you do enjoy my channel, even after these big, long, lengthy ones, please do give it a thumbs up. Please do subscribe. It lets me know you like my channel. I want me to keep doing it, and then I shall. So thank you guys again. If you're new here, welcome. I am a fictional storyteller. I'm not a psychic. I wish I had that gift. I do not. I'm truly a writer writing without a pen in this format. So I always hope that something interesting comes out of this, even if they're difficult stories to tell. In fact, those are usually my favorite because they're way more challenging. But yeah, I hope that we just step back and observe the characters without getting over involved, and then, question like, do I agree with that? Do I not? Do I like that? Do I not? Remember, we can watch them play it out. It's not us. And so that's we get to decide different things in our own lives. So this is not about any real living, breathing human being. And I hope that's always a relief. All right, you guys, take care. Bye.